Hey, everybody, this is TJR,
And this is Robert Kinsler.
and we're back again today. It is October the 14th, the day before the release of the new remix of Let It Be. That's not what we're talking about today. This is
We'll
our
get to that
regular
at
get
some point.
together, but I just wanted to bring that up. But this is our regular get together where we talk about upcoming new releases that we're excited about, curious about, that have piqued our interest. Today, we're going to be discussing releases by Al Stewart, a book regarding Eddie Van Halen, releases by Marvin Gaye, Billy Preston, Deep Purple, David Crosby, Tears for Fears, and, believe it or not, Peter Gabriel. So before we get into it, though, we want to just do some quick shout outs about releases that we've already heard that we are excited about. And Robert, why don't you start?
Well, sounds good, TJ. I'm going to start with a band that until recently I wasn't even really aware of. This is a band that is back with their first new recorded music in about 25 years. And the band is from New Jersey. It's a quartet titled, and I know hard to see that, but the band is called Lizard Music. And the name of the album is, and I may mispronounce it, it's Arizone. Arizone with an exclamation point, and it's been issued by Omnivore Recordings. And this is just a fantastic album. If you're a fan of 90s bands such as Dada, the band Jellyfish, or perhaps Fastball, these are all bands kind of, when you think about the 1990s and melodic and creative, psychedelic styled rock, they fit in that category. There's some experimental things going on here. Very good album. It's a sensational listen, and I've really been enjoying this album a lot. And I guess because of the pandemic, they reconnected and decided, hey, let's do new music, and they did. And now the music is out there for everybody to enjoy, and hope everyone out there will check it out.
Fantastic, cool. Omnivore Records is a really great label, and they've been responsible for bringing to light a lot of really good artists, and also bringing a lot of legacy recordings that might have been forgotten. And yeah, really great label. Good to hear about stuff coming from them. Oh, and by the way, we should mention you talked all about this album on your blog,
right?
Which is Rock and Roll Truth. We're going to definitely be leaving a link for that here. And also the album I want to talk about, the shout out I want to give, you talked about it as well. And this is the latest album by Brandi Carlile, and it's entitled In These Silent Days. I've been a fan of Brandi Carlile since I heard her 2009 release entitled Give Up the Ghost. She is, if you haven't heard Brandi Carlile, Americana rock, basically, heavily influenced, by artists like Bruce Springsteen, Tom Petty. And recently, her last album, By the Way, I Forgive You, she became adopted by the country music crowd, which I'm really glad to hear, because she deserves a wider audience. She deserves a bigger audience. And she I guess she had a performance there, I think it was on last year's Country Music Awards show or something along those lines, where she performed one of her best songs ever, called The Joke, which was off that last album, By the Way, I Forgive You. And it just simply blew the lid off the entire night. And country music fans around the world suddenly started flocking to her, which I'm glad to hear. She deserves a bigger audience. But her latest album, In These Silent Days, is it's that classic rock album that you've never heard, basically. It feels like something that was recorded in the mid to late 70s. It feels like it could have been recorded by, like Van Morrison or Jackson Browne, or any number of great singer-songwriter artists from that time period. It's just an excellent sounding album, great songs. Can't recommend it enough if you haven't checked it out. In These Silent Days by Brandi Carlile, which you reviewed, of course, on your column too, which I was glad to see.
I didn't want to stomp all over you, but yeah, you're right. It's a phenomenal album. One of the best albums of 2021, without a doubt. Yeah.
Yeah. Glad you liked it. Glad you liked it. So those are our shout outs for new albums that we've heard that we want to just let you know about. If you want to give a shout out, please do so in the comments and let us all know. So let's go ahead and talk about upcoming releases. We're going to start with releases that just came out right now. Right. And Robert, I think you want to talk about Al Stewart first.
Right. I just got a media release about this. I don't know how I hadn't heard about it, but Al Stewart's a classic 1978 album, Time Passages, is coming out via a 4-disc limited edition box set. Again, I've not even heard any of the tracks or anything. I just got the press release not too long before we were hooking up via Zoom to do our recording today, TJ. So, but I had to include it because that's such a classic album and one of his most important releases. And just let me read just a little bit from the press release. This new deluxe edition of this special album has been newly remastered for the very first time from the original first generation master tapes by Alan Parsons. So that immediately is going to get a lot of people excited. And it also features his stunning new 5.1 surround sound mix from the original multi-track tapes, excuse me there, everybody. In addition, the set includes single edits, an album session outtake, 4 demo tracks recorded in Los Angeles in August of 1977, and for the first time, the complete concert recorded at the studios of WKQK FM in Chicago in October of 1978. So for fans of Al Stewart, and probably Alan Parsons too, this is an important recording. And you know, like I said, this is out. We're shooting this on October 14th. This is out on October 15th. So this basically will be available by the time you watch this video. You can go out and either pick it up somewhere at your favorite store or order it online.
Hopefully it'll be available for streaming too. It probably should be, but we'll have to wait and see. You never know sometimes.
Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. Sometimes these things are available for streaming. Sometimes they're not. You just never know. But yeah, very cool. If you're done, I have something I want to talk about here that's out right now as well. It just came out a day or so ago. This is not an album. It's a book, actually. It is entitled Eruption, Conversations with Eddie Van Halen by Brad Tolinski and Chris Gill. Brad Tolinski is the former editor-in-chief of Guitar World magazine. Chris Gill is the former editor-in-chief of Guitar Aficionado magazine. And the book is based on more than 50 hours of conversations that both of these men had with Eddie Van Halen over the years. The book also includes contributions from family, friends, and colleagues, plus other musicians, including Tony Iommi, Steve Vai, and Steve Lukather. And according to, and I'm just going to read from the press release here, Conversations with Eddie Van Halen includes, or I should say highlights, his greatest triumphs as a groundbreaking musician, including an unprecedented dive into Van Halen's masterpiece, 1984. It takes an unflinching look at Eddie's early struggles as a young Dutch immigrant, unable to speak English, which resulted in lifelong issues with social anxiety and substance abuse. It also examines his brilliance as an inventor who changed the face of guitar manufacturing, as well as his turbulent marriage to Valerie Bertinelli and his relationship with bandmates David Lee Roth and Sammy Hagar. There's a quote here from as well that I'll just read from. Our goal was to tell the story of Ed's entire life through his own words, says Gill. We wanted to do it in an entertaining and informative manner for the general music fan, while also going deep into Ed's contributions as a guitarist, songwriter, and musical instrument innovator, as well as one of the greatest guitarists and musicians of the 20th century. This is out now, and this is a book that I definitely either want to read or I want to get the audiobook and start listening to it. And I'm just real excited about this. Eddie Van Halen has been a huge influence on my life as a musician. He's the reason I picked up the guitar. I was playing piano prior, still play piano, but Elton John is the reason I became a pianist, and Eddie Van Halen was the reason I became a guitarist. So they're the two of the most important musicians in my whole life. So I'm definitely looking forward to this.
Yeah. It sounds like this is a really a well-balanced approach to try to take a look at the entire Eddie Van Halen, like you're saying, from his, being an immigrant into the country to, what led him on his road to, forming the band and his triumphs and the struggles and everything. And that's great.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So that's what's out right now as we speak. So now we're going to talk about some upcoming releases. And we both want to talk about two, interestingly enough, these next two releases are being reissued, I should say, on vinyl only.
Yeah.
And they are anniversary releases. They're not coming out on CD, at least not yet. They're vinyl only. And they're both R&B artists. And so
right.
We're going to talk about, I'm just going to go ahead and let you start. You're going to start with Billy Preston. Yeah. I'm going to talk about Marvin Gaye.
Exactly. So coming out on October 29th, so, coming up just in a couple of weeks here is the vinyl album release of Encouraging Words. And this is, like you were saying, Billy Preston, everybody knows who he is, a Rock and Roll Hall of Famer. And that was Billy Preston's second album for Apple Records. And what's so interesting is people often affiliate, myself included, Billy Preston's relationship with the Beatles. I mean, I think, everybody knows when we get to see, whether you see Let It Be or the upcoming documentary, Get Back, and help me out, what's the title of the Peter Jackson documentary?
Get Back.
Get Back. Okay, so I did have it right. So that's coming out in November. Well, this album is coming out before that, and it includes 3 gospel covered funk songs of songs that Beatles fans will know well. One is the Beatles' I've Got a Feeling. It also includes versions of George Harrison's My Sweet Lord and All Things Must Pass. And to boot, this album was co-produced by Billy Preston and, let's fill in the blank here, George Harrison. So There's all kinds of connections between George Harrison, the Fab Four, and this album. And like I said, it's coming out on vinyl. And I haven't heard in advance of it or anything. I think many people probably have heard tracks off this album, but just wanted to let everyone know that this is going to be out later this month. And it's going to be released by Apple/Capital/UME. Very
cool. I have, this album has been out for, of course, this is a re-release, we should mention.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can find this album on a streaming service like Tidal or Apple Music or Spotify, but this is a new vinyl pressing. I'm assuming it's a remastering of some sort, since they're going to be pressing it to vinyl again.
I don't know offhand, but like I said, there's definitely, when you listen to this album, and I'm familiar with some of the tracks, there's a gospel and an R&B and soul feel. So like even the songs that people might be familiar with, they're definitely not straight ahead covers of the versions that we're used to.
Okay.
He makes them his own. But Billy Preston's a great singer, a great keyboardist, and I think people that are interested in him or how he handles these songs will want to hear this.
Very good. Okay. So if you're, I want to go ahead and talk about an album that I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with. This is the 50th anniversary release of What's Going On by Marvin Gaye. This is coming out as a 2-disc vinyl release only. So far, no word about a CD issuing of it, which strikes me as odd. I think there was a 45th anniversary release or a 40th anniversary release a while back that was a 2 CD release. And maybe this is just a replication of that. I don't own that version, so maybe this is just a replication of it. But I'm going to briefly go over this here with everybody. This is, of course, his 1971 classic album. I'm going to read from the press release here. The release features direct to analog mastering from the original primary album tape reels by the acclaimed engineer Kevin Gray. This is one of the first times that this procedure has been done since 1971. And of course, along with the original album, there's going to be a bonus LP. It will feature 4 rare cuts making their vinyl debut, a previously unreleased stripped version of the title song, also all 6 original mono single mixes, and their B-sides are included, with all of those 7-inch versions appearing on vinyl for the first time since their original releases. These include alternate versions of God is Love and Flying High in the Friendly Sky, the latter of which was issued on a 45 As Sad Tomorrows. And it will feature 2 180-gram records, a tip-on heavy stock jacket, and the original gatefold with complete lyrics. It also includes printed sleeves with track details, a rare image from the cover sessions, and a brief essay honoring arranger David Van Peet. Hopefully I've said that name correctly. And I'm real excited about this. I only own this album on CD. I've always known, of course, the hit singles from this album, but it was a couple years back when Rolling Stone did one of their greatest albums of all time lists, not the recent one they did last year, but from several years back, the last time they did it. And that album was in the top 10. By the way, last year it made number 1, but back then it was in the top 10. And I read about the album and I thought, I've never really heard this album. I know the 2 hit singles off of it, but I don't know the album. And I picked up the album and I was just floored by it. I thought, this is one of the best albums I've ever heard. It's been a favorite ever since. And I've been thinking for a while now, I'd like to get it on vinyl. And there were a couple of times I almost bought it, but now I'm glad I waited.
Yeah, I'm glad you
I want to get this pressing. Now that I've read about how they're going to do it and it's coming with this bonus LP, I'm like, okay, this is a no-brainer for me. But no CD accompanying release for this, just this vinyl version. I do apologize. I didn't think about this before we started recording, but now I'm starting to wonder if maybe this vinyl release replicates what was on the previous 40th or 45th anniversary release that was a 2 CD release. It might very well be that that's what this is. Just this is the vinyl version of it. Maybe that's why we're not seeing a CD release of it. I apologize. I should have thought of that before we started filming. It's just popping into my head as we're talking about this. Yeah. But who knows? If you know, please let us know in the comments. So now we want to kind of look at some other classic rockers who have some releases coming out here. And I want to talk about David Crosby. You want to talk about Deep Purple.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Let's hear it. Come on.
So I don't have a lot of details, but I'm going to give everyone the key points here. So Deep Purple is returning with Turning to Crime. And this album is coming out on November 26th of this year, 2021. And what's interesting about this is the band's first album of all covers. So the first advanced track has been released, and I'm telling you, I listened to it this week. It's called 7 and 7 Is. It's a cover of, I believe it's a song from the band Love, but I'm telling you, the song is just blistering. It's just awesome. Can't wait to hear the rest of it. Some of the other tracks that they cover, I'm not going to name them all. You can go online and find all that. But they cover Oh Well by Fleetwood Mac. They cover a Bob Dylan song, Watching the River Flow. One of the songs that I'm really looking forward to hearing their version of is they cover White Room by Cream. And that's one of my all-time favorite recordings is Cream's version of that song. So, and they even cover a Bob Seger track, Lucifer. So they kind of sound like they're going kind of all over the rock and roll, stratosphere here, covering different things. But, Deep Purple has put out some really good albums in recent years, and I'm hoping that they keep up the good. I mean, that last album they did, Whoosh, I thought was awesome too. That was of their own material, but I'm definitely, looking forward to checking this one out when it's released in late November.
Deep Purple has seen a lot of lineup changes, but you're right. They have continued to release really strong albums throughout the last 2 decades, throughout the 20th century and the end of, throughout the 21st century, I should say, these last 2 decades of the 21st century, and even at the tail end of the 20th century when radio stopped playing their music. They've continued to put out really good albums, but the thing is there's been no format for them to be heard until streaming has come along. It's a shame. They've released a lot of really great albums, and we've talked about them in past videos on the Old Music Worth Buying show. And so I'm glad to hear they're still out there, and I'm glad to hear about this release. And definitely sometime, I think you and I should get together and just talk about some of those more recent Deep Purple albums, maybe.
I agree.
Try to give them a little more exposure. Definitely now that we're talking about this, but very good. Very good. Yeah. And so I'm going to talk about another reissue here, which is going to be the 50th anniversary release of David Crosby's first solo album entitled If Only I Could Remember My Name. Great title for an album.
Yeah, great title.
This is coming out from Rhino. They're going to be releasing this as a 2 CD set that includes the album. And these are their words, not mine. Okay. It literally states this in the press release: lovingly remastered. Lovingly, you know, as opposed to what? I don't know. But it says here remastered from the original analog tapes, which I'm glad to hear, analog tapes, accompanied by a bonus disc that features a dozen unreleased demos, outtakes, and alternate versions. The new remaster was overseen by original album engineer Stephen, hopefully I say this right, Barncard, with restoration and speed correction using, oh gosh, if I can say this, plangent processes.
Okay.
There we go. There's a tongue twister.
Yeah, that is.
That's coming out on October 15th, retailing for approximately $24.98. Also on the same day, the newly remastered version of the original album were released on 180 gram vinyl for $24.98 as well. That's just the album, not the bonus disc. The music will also be available from digital and streaming services the same day. So you'll be able to hear all of this on streaming services if you want to. If you just want to pick up the vinyl record, but want to hear the bonus material, you can hear it on streaming. Myself, I think I'll probably go with the 2 CD version. I'm not sure. I've heard this album before, and it's a really kind of unique album in my opinion. I rather like it, and so I'm excited to check this one out. So that's going to be David Crosby. His first solo album.
Yeah, that sounds like a great release to pick up too.
So now we want to talk about 2 artists who have not released anything in quite some time, who are going to have some new releases coming soon of all new material. And Robert, why don't you start once again? Why don't you start? Because this is a real killer.
Yeah, let it rip. I'm very, very excited by this release. This is the return of Tears for Fears, the great iconic British duo, and it's going to be the band's first album in 17 years, and it's called The Tipping Point. And it's not going to be out until February 25th of next year, 2022. But they have not only announced the album, but they've also released the advance single, which is the title track, and it's fantastic. The band sounding as great as ever. Very excited by it. I don't have a lot of details other than, everybody, you can imagine the music world, at least all of us that are big fans of Tears for Fears, are very excited that they're coming back, and we're going to be getting new music from Roland. And I always struggle with his name, Roland Orzabal and Kurt Smith. And we'll have new music from them in not too many months.
Yeah, I've heard this advanced single too. It's really good.
Yeah.
How would you describe this single if you were to describe it to someone who's never heard it before?
It's not as, maybe not as tuneful, right? At least right at first listen, maybe more immersive, more wistful, but no, it's a great track.
It has this rhythm to it that is very reminiscent to a certain extent of, like, say, Everybody Wants to Rule the World. The dun 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 dun. Although the song sounds nothing like that. So if you're thinking it's going to sound upbeat like that song, forget it. It's not. It has that rhythm, but it's very. There's a little. I would say there's like almost elements of Pink Floyd in this track, and elements of maybe Peter Gabriel too.
Yeah. I think that's good. Good analogy.
It is a very esoteric sounding track, but definitely a really good track. And I recommend, go checking it out, but it's available on streaming, I'm sure it's on YouTube as well. But yeah, Tidal, Spotify, Apple Music.
Exactly. And
go check it out.
And just for people, if you are going to pre-order it or you're thinking ahead, you may want to get the deluxe CD edition, which I'm going to plan to pick up, because that has an additional 3 tracks on it. And I don't know the songs, but one's called Let It All Evolve, Secret Location, and the third one is Shame, and then parentheses Cry Heaven. So and if you're more than a casual fan, I imagine it's a no-brainer that you want to pick up the deluxe edition that's going to be released on CD when it comes out next February.
Absolutely. Okay. So finally, to wrap it up here, this news is just a couple days old here. We don't have an album title yet, although maybe we've secretly been given one. I have a theory about this. I've kind of wondered about this myself, but we don't have an official album title yet. We also don't have a release date yet. But Peter Gabriel did an interview recently in an Italian magazine. Hopefully I say this right. I'm probably going to totally butcher the name of this magazine. Specchio.
Okay.
Maybe Specchio, Specchio, I don't know. It's Italian, in which he states, it is happening. It's closer than you think, and confirms that he's been working with his band for the last 10 days on at least 17 new songs in the studio. So, and the headline just says, new Peter Gabriel album, closer than you think.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of wondering the choice of words.
Yeah.
I could be totally wrong about this, but maybe that's the name of the album, Closer Than You Think.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Who knows?
Who
Yeah.
knows?
Good. Hey, yeah. And I hadn't heard about this until you told me, even though, like I was telling everyone out there, I get so many media releases, but I'm very excited by that. Very excited by that news.
It's a crazy world of news we live in.
Yeah.
Where so much is happening and being announced all at once, and we're being bombarded with so much stuff. I'm surprised too by the things that I don't hear about.
Yeah.
Bands that I'm really into, and they've got a new album out, I didn't know about it. This happens all the time over the last 10 years, I've noticed. Yeah. But Peter Gabriel working on new music, and his only comment about this upcoming album is that it's closer than you think, which means I think we're going to be surprised. Yeah. I think he's going to do I have a feeling he's going to do what I've seen artists like other artists have done, like Eminem has done, Beyonce's done, where it's just one day it's here. Mm-hmm. He just drops it. And the day of, you're hearing, oh, it's just been dropped. It's available for streaming. Go listen to it. Yeah. I think I have a feeling he's probably going to try that. Maybe he's going to do that thing. And who knows? And who knows? Maybe it's going to be called Closer Than You Think. That's my prediction. Yeah. We'll see what happens.
We'll see.
Could be dead wrong, but let's find out. But this is exciting.
Very exciting.
I mean, Peter Gabriel, we think about it now. He has, if we look at his discography here, technically speaking, the last album he released was New Blood in 2011. But on that album, he was revisiting older songs from his career with an orchestra.
Exactly.
His last album of new original material was in 2002, and that was Up. Mm-hmm. And so it's been almost 20 years since he's released an album of new original material. It's been a while. And yet he says, we've been working on this for the last 10 days.
Wow.
Which tells me they're moving at lightning speed. They're writing and recording just at lightning speed.
Great.
Putting this together. And this should be exciting. Very exciting. We'll see what happens, whether or not we get any advance notice or just one day we wake up and there it is.
There it is.
Available for streaming. Anyways, though, with a physical version to follow. Okay. So that's all that we want to cover right now as far as new releases. I'm sure there's going to be more news upcoming, and I'm sure the next time we're going to have some more shout outs that we're going to want to give as well. Let us know what you think. What are you excited about? What have we talked about today that you're excited about, that you're looking forward to? And what do you think we should have talked about that we didn't? Please let us know in the comments. And as always, if you like what we're doing here, be sure to click subscribe, smash that bell notification icon so you can never miss a video. And next, I just want to thank our mighty and powerful patron supporters who are helping us make more videos. If you'd like to be a patron supporter, please go to patreon.com/TJR the original. And we want to give a big shout out to them. If you can't be a patron supporter, that's okay. You can show your support by just clicking like. That's how YouTube algorithm recognizes that we exist. Click like, and more people will discover what we're doing here. And also, if you can share these videos on your social media. And until next time, everybody, Thank you so much for watching. Robert, I know we're going to be getting together soon to discuss other stuff as well.
Right.
I know that next month in November, we want to talk about Get Back, the film, as we watch it. So, like I said, click that bell notification icon so you don't miss those videos. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. We hope you all stay safe and healthy. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.